All right, so we're diving deep into the IELTS exam today.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah, you know that test that can basically open doors to universities and opportunities all over the world.
It's a big one.
It is, yeah, big one. So we want to arm you with the knowledge and tactics to absolutely crush it.
That's the goal.
Yeah, get that band 7 or higher.
At least.
At least, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to cover all 4 sections: speaking, writing, reading, listening.
The whole shebang.
The whole shebang, unearthing some surprising tips along the way and revealing those common pitfalls.
Absolutely. Those things that can really trip you up.
Yes, exactly.
And a lot of people think the IELTS is just about your English language ability.
Right.
But it's more than that. It's about really understanding what the exam is asking for.
Yeah, it's strategic.
But very strategic, yeah.
So let's kick things off with the speaking test.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure some of our listeners are already feeling a little bit nervous just thinking about it.
I can imagine, yeah.
Having to chat with an examiner and show off your language skills right there in the moment.
It can be a bit nerve-wracking.
It can be, but the examiner isn't expecting perfection, are they?
No, not at all.
They want to see how well you can actually communicate.
Yeah, and express yourself.
And express yourself. And fluency and coherence are key here.
That's what our sources are saying.
It's like having a flowing conversation.
Right.
You might stumble over a word or two. It's natural.
Totally.
But the overall flow should be smooth and natural.
You want to sound like yourself.
Yeah. I remember when I first took the IELTS, I would kind of freeze up a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The pressure got to me.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But what our sources say is you can actually practice speaking about everyday topics for just a minute or two.
Yeah, little chunks.
Yeah, just to build up that confidence.
And what kind of topics are we thinking of?
Well, they say like describing a recent holiday.
Okay.
Or your favorite book, something like that.
Things you're familiar with?
Yeah, exactly.
Good idea.
Now, here's another good tip I've heard, is to actually record yourself while you're practicing.
Ooh, that's a brave one.
I know it can be a bit cringy to listen back.
It can.
But it's so helpful for identifying those little pauses or hesitations that can disrupt the flow.
Right, because when you're in the moment, you might not even notice them.
Exactly.
It's like shining a spotlight on those little gremlins.
Exactly, those little gremlins in our speech.
Yeah, love that.
So we've talked about fluency.
Yes.
Now let's move on to vocabulary.
All right.
Because I know I'm guilty of sticking to those basic words when I'm nervous.
It's easy to fall back on what you know.
It is. But our sources really emphasize using a wider range of vocabulary.
Oh, absolutely.
To impress that examiner.
Because it shows you have a good command of the language.
It does, yeah.
Right.
Like showing off a little bit.
It is a bit of a showcase.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying good, you could say excellent, superb, outstanding,
I like it.
Spice it up a little.
Spice it up.
Yeah.
And what about using idiomatic expressions?
Now idioms, those are interesting.
They are. Our sources mention them.
Yes.
And they said to use them carefully to add a little flair.
To add a bit of personality.
Yeah, personality to your speech.
But you've got to use them appropriately.
You do, yeah.
Because if you force them or use them incorrectly, it can actually lower your score.
Oh.
Imagine saying, it's raining cats and dogs on a beautiful sunny day.
That would be a bit awkward.
It would, wouldn't it?
So strategic idiom use.
Strategic, that's the key.
Strategic, yeah. All right. Now let's talk about grammar and pronunciation.
Okay.
Are they make or break factors in the speaking test?
Well, perfect grammar is, of course, what we're all aiming for.
Like.
But occasional slips won't completely derail you.
Okay.
The examiner is really looking for a solid grasp of those key grammatical structures.
Like what kind of structures are we talking about?
We're talking about things like tenses, articles, prepositions.
Okay, so the fundamentals.
The fundamentals, yeah, the building blocks of clear communication.
Right, so it's about getting those right rather than aiming for absolute perfection.
Yeah, it's about showing you can communicate effectively.
And how about pronunciation? Is it all about having that perfect British accent?
Not at all, no.
Yeah.
It's more about clarity.
Clarity, yeah.
Making sure your words are easily understood.
Okay.
And also intonation, using your voice to convey meaning.
Intonation.
Yeah, think about the difference between saying, I went to the shop and I went to the shop. The emphasis changes the meaning.
It does, yeah.
So their subtle nuances are important.
Yeah, I guess our sources recommend practicing with online resources.
I do.
And trying things like shadowing exercises where you listen to native speakers.
And repeat.
And repeat, yeah.
It's a fun way to improve.
It is fun.
And you pick up on those subtle things,
Yeah.
like intonation and stress and rhythm.
Brilliant. So those are some great tips for our listeners to try out.
Definitely give them a go.
And I'm feeling much more confident already just hearing you talk about it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
But hold on, we've only just begun our IELTS journey. We've got the writing section coming up.
Oh, yes, the dreaded writing section.
That's right.
Buckle up.
Which could be a bit daunting with that ticking clock.
Absolutely. Now, the writing section is where I think a lot of test takers really start to feel the pressure.
Yeah, I can imagine why.
2 tasks.
Yeah.
Just 1 hour.
Yeah.
It's a real test of your writing skills, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I remember feeling totally overwhelmed the first time I saw the writing test.
Right.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is, but with a strategic approach, you can definitely break it down and manage your time effectively.
Oh, good to know.
So let's start with task 1.
Okay.
Where you're asked to describe visual information.
Like what?
Charts, graphs, diagrams, that sort of thing.
Right.
And our sources really stress the importance of following a clear structure here.
Okay.
And presenting that information accurately and concisely.
So it's not just about describing what you see.
No, it's about doing it in a very specific way.
I see. And our sources compare this to building a house.
Ah, yes.
You need that solid foundation.
You do.
So how do we lay that foundation in a task 1 response?
Well, first off, you need to provide an overview.
Okay.
A general statement that just summarizes the main trends or features in the visual.
Could you give me an example?
Absolutely. So let's say it's a graph showing rising house prices.
Okay.
Your overview might be something like, the graph illustrates a significant upward trend in house prices between 2015 and 2023.
Okay, so you're setting the scene,
Yeah.
giving the examiner a bit of a roadmap.
Exactly.
But then you need to go beyond just describing the obvious, right?
You need to dig a little deeper.
Okay.
Highlight key trends, use comparative language to contrast different elements,
Okay.
and support your observations with data from the visual.
So it's about being specific.
Very specific, yes.
Okay, are there any words that are good to use here?
Oh, yeah. Definitely think about words like while, whereas in contrast,
Oh, I see.
these really help you draw those comparisons effectively.
It's like painting a picture with words, isn't it?
It is. You want to make that information come alive for the reader.
Okay, now let's tackle task 2, the dreaded essay.
Ah, yes, the essay.
And our sources recommend this thing called the Peel method
Peel. Yes, it's a very popular technique.
as a powerful way to structure those arguments.
It's a fantastic framework.
What exactly does Peel stand for?
Okay, so Peel stands for point, example, explanation, and link.
Point, example, explanation, link.
Right.
Okay, got it.
And it's basically a way to make sure each paragraph is logical and persuasive.
I've heard of Peel before, but I've never quite grasped how to use it effectively.
Okay, well, let me break it down for you.
Okay, please.
So let's say your essay is about the benefits of learning a second language.
Okay.
Your point might be something like, learning a second language enhances cognitive flexibility and problem-solving skills.
Okay, so that's your main argument for that paragraph.
Exactly, that's the point you're making.
Then what comes next?
Then you need an example to back it up.
An example.
So you could say, studies have shown that bilingual individuals tend to outperform monolingual individuals in tasks requiring mental agility and creative thinking.
Okay, so that's your evidence.
Right, your evidence to support your point.
And then the explanation.
Yes, the explanation delves into why that example matters.
Okay.
So you might say something like, this is because navigating 2 language systems strengthens the brain's executive functions, which are responsible for planning, problem-solving, and multitasking.
So you're really explaining the science behind it.
Right, you're giving that deeper level of understanding.
Okay, and finally the link.
Ah, yes, the link brings it all together.
Right.
So you might say, therefore, acquiring a second language can be a valuable asset in today's increasingly complex and interconnected world.
Oh, I see. So you're connecting it back to the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. And then you would move on to your next point, maybe focusing on the social or cultural benefits of multilingualism.
Okay, and you'd use the same Peel structure for that one.
Absolutely. It gives your whole essay a nice logical flow.
That's incredibly helpful. I can see how using Peel can make it much easier for the examiner to follow your line of reasoning.
Exactly.
Our sources also mention practicing writing under timed conditions,
Yes, that is crucial.
which I imagine can be quite stressful.
It can be, but by simulating exam conditions, you get used to that time pressure.
Right.
And you learn to manage your writing process more efficiently.
Okay, and you can figure out where your strengths and weaknesses are.
Absolutely.
Speaking of practice, our sources also recommend studying model essays
Oh, yes, model essays are brilliant.
to see what a high-scoring response actually looks like.
Right, because it gives you insights into the structure, the language, the level of detail that examiners are looking for.
It's like having a sneak peek into the examiner's mind.
Exactly.
So we've got some brilliant advice for tackling the writing section.
Hopefully that's given our listeners some confidence.
I'm feeling much more confident already.
Good.
But we've still got 2 more sections to conquer: reading and listening.
We do.
So let's move on to the reading test,
Okay.
which can feel like a marathon with those long passages and tricky questions.
It can be a bit overwhelming.
Welcome back to our IELTS Dame Dive. We're on the final leg now,
The home stretch.
the home stretch.
Yes.
We've tackled speaking and writing.
We have.
Now it's time for the reading test.
All right.
60 minutes, 3 lengthy passages.
It's a lot to get through.
It is. It can feel like a mental obstacle course.
It can be quite challenging, yeah.
It can. But our sources have given us some good strategies to help us navigate this.
I have some really useful tips.
So time management is key here.
Absolutely.
With only 60 minutes to answer 40 questions across those 3 passages.
You've got to be strategic.
It's easy to feel the pressure.
Very easy.
So how should we be allocating our time?
Well, aim to spend roughly 15 to 20 minutes per passage, and don't get stuck on a single question if you're struggling. Move on and come back to it later.
I've always found that skimming the passage first helps me get a sense of what it's about.
It's a great strategy.
Just a quick scan to identify the main topic, key points, and any keywords that jump out.
Yeah, you're creating a mental map of the passage before you even look at the questions.
Exactly.
And pay attention to headings, subheadings, any visuals. They can really help guide you.
They're like signposts.
They are like signposts leading you through the information.
Right. Now let's talk about the different types of questions.
Okay.
Because the IELTS likes to throw in a few curveballs, doesn't it?
It does. It likes to keep you on your toes.
It does.
Oh.
They've got true, false, not given, multiple choice.
Right.
They can be tricky.
It can be, yeah.
So let's start with true, false, not given.
Okay.
What's the key to answering these correctly?
Well, you've got to read the statements very carefully.
Right.
Pay close attention to qualifiers like always, never, some, because they can completely change the meaning.
Oh, I see.
It's all about those little nuances.
It is, and those not given statements,
Yeah, yes.
they always trip me up.
They're tricky, aren't they?
It's hard to know if the information is just missing
Right.
or if I haven't looked hard enough.
Yeah, you start second-guessing yourself.
I do?
The trick is to avoid making assumptions.
Okay.
If the information isn't clearly stated in the passage, even if it seems logical, it's probably not given.
Right. So don't overthink it.
Exactly.
Okay, how about multiple choice questions?
All right, well, for multiple choice,
Any tips for those?
first, read the question stem carefully so you know exactly what it's asking.
Okay.
Then scan the passage for keywords or phrases related to the question.
So it's a bit like a treasure hunt,
It is a bit like a treasure hunt.
looking for clues.
Yes, finding those pieces of evidence.
And remember, the IELTS loves to paraphrase.
Oh, yes, they do.
So the answer choices might not use the exact same wording as the passage.
You've got to be able to spot those synonyms and paraphrases.
Right. Recognizing those equivalent meanings is crucial. It is.
Okay, let's move on to the listening test.
All right.
30 minutes, 4 recordings.
It's a test of your concentration.
It is. Focus and attention to detail are key here.
Absolutely.
So how can we make sure we're listening effectively?
Well, the key is strategic listening.
Okay.
Don't try to understand every single word.
Right.
Focus on getting the overall gist of what's being said.
The main idea.
Yeah, the main idea. And jot down any key details that stand out.
And what if you miss a question?
Don't
panic.
Just move on.
Just move on.
Dwelling on it will only make you miss the next one.
Keep that momentum going.
Absolutely. Keep moving forward.
Now, here's something I learned the hard way. The IELTS listening section uses a variety of accents.
Oh, yes, that's right.
British, American, Australian.
You name it.
You name it. It's a global test.
It is. So it's a good idea to listen to different accents beforehand, just because of an unfamiliar accent, and it was a crucial piece of information.
Oh, no.
Talk about a facepalm moment.
It happens.
It does.
And just like in the reading section, be prepared for paraphrasing.
Okay.
The speakers might use different words or expressions than what you see in the questions.
So again, recognizing synonyms and paraphrases is really important.
Very important.
Okay, before we wrap up, our sources highlighted some general strategies
They did.
that apply to all sections of the IELTS.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, one of the most important things is to understand the band descriptors.
Okay.
These are the criteria that examiners use to assess your performance in each section.
So it's like a roadmap to success.
It is. It shows you exactly what you need to do to achieve your target band score.
And of course, practice makes perfect.
Absolutely, practice is key.
Our sources really emphasize taking mock tests regularly.
Mock tests are so valuable.
They are.
They help you get used to the format, the timing, the types of questions.
And you can figure out your strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly.
And tailor your preparation accordingly.
Right.
And let's not forget about the mental game.
Ah, yes, the mental game is important.
The IELTS can be stressful,
It can be.
but staying calm and focused is crucial.
Absolutely. Practice relaxation techniques. Visualize yourself succeeding. Believe in your abilities.
Believe in yourself.
You've got this.
You've got this. And on that note, we've reached the end of our IELTS deep dive.
We have.
Remember, this exam is not just a hurdle to overcome.
No.
It's an opportunity to showcase your skills.
And open doors to a world of possibility.
Exactly. With the right strategies and a belief in yourself, you can conquer the IELTS and achieve your dreams.
Absolutely well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It has. And best of luck to all our listeners out there on their IELTS journey.
Good luck, everyone.